Hello everyone. Today we're going to be ranking every puppet combo villain and ranking them based on how likely they are to exist in real life. I know this is such like a random ass topic, but I thought it was interesting and I haven't done a video like this in so long, you know, sitting in front of the green screen and stuff like that. So I definitely do want to make more of these. And yeah, we're going to start with this one. All right, by the way, we're going to have like 4 different categories. I think it's going to be impossible to exist, unlikely, maybe, and highly likely. All right, that's going to be the rankings on, you know, for these puppet combo killers and how likely they are to exist. So let's get straight into it. All right, so first on the list we have the Easter Ripper. So right off the bat, the Easter Ripper, like his backstory is just it doesn't seem that realistic, to be honest. If you guys know a bit about the lore, if you guys have read the books, you know that Tom was supposed to get caught, but he blamed his brother, and his brother for some reason just took it all and went to jail for him. And then Tom ended up going right back to kidnapping and killing, you know, kids or whatever. That's just insane. That's just so unrealistic. I don't know any other brother on earth that would do that for their brother. Like, bro, come on now. Also, it is just, especially in 2024, it's not that likely for kids to go missing and for there not to be any cameras around, for them not to catch the actual person doing it. Like, okay, sure, this game takes place 1980 something, right? There aren't that many surveillance cameras, stuff like that. I agree, right? But we're talking about how likely they are to exist like today, bro. And I'm telling you right now, the Easter Ripper, any fucking person that's kidnapping kids from a mall, from their job at the mall, that's just not possible, bro. I'm telling you, there's cameras everywhere, especially in 2024. Motherfuckers is not fucking leaving, bro. I promise you he's getting caught. Shit. So yeah, guys, can you just like imagine that? Can you guys imagine like a news headline today being like, kids go missing at this mall, there's like 10 kids that go missing? Bro, there's gonna be a huge ass investigation if like multiple kids start going missing. If one kid starts going missing, there's already gonna, like, the whole fucking mall is gonna get shut down, all that shit, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just, I highly doubt that a person like the Easter Ripper or Tom could exist in today's world or in real life, given all the technology and all that stuff. He just would get caught instantly, and plus I just don't think anyone would take that much like blame, you know, killing fucking people and stuff like that. So it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, the Easter Ripper, I'm gonna have to go unlikely to exist. Next up we have the Booty Creek Cheek Freak. And come on now, he will never exist in real life. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it right now, a villain like the Booty Creek Cheek Freak is just impossible to exist. He's just very folktale like, he's just very superhuman, and I'm sorry guys, supernatural shit that does not exist in our real world, okay? The Booty Creek Cheek Freak does not exist, he will never exist. His backstory is also even, all right, look, let's answer, all right, bruh. His backstory too is just doesn't make any sense in real life. So basically his backstory is that there was a truck driver who took a stop and went to go to the bathroom and got stuck in the toilet, and then he died on the toilet and then haunts the bathroom ever since. Like, that's, what the fuck? I don't think a single person on earth in the history, in the past and in the future, will ever die sitting on a toilet because they got stuck. Like, can you guys think about that? What the hell? His backstory is just so unrealistic, even down to his abilities too. The Booty Creek Cheek Freak can shapeshift into cars and stuff like that. It's just not real. It's just not real, okay? So yeah, for the Booty Creek Cheek Freak, it's just, he's impossible. It's impossible for him to exist. It's not gonna happen. So next up we have Dylan from Deadly Night. And now this one I can see happening, all right? So I'm gonna go maybe. His backstory isn't that unrealistic, all right? There's been many kids who have gotten caught in like fires in their house, have severe burns on their body, stuff like that. And that's what happened to Dylan. I will say that the path that Dylan took after that, I highly doubt a human like being would go to that extent and become a killer, become a cannibal, and start taking over a farm and doing all this stuff, right? That's just not realistic. I don't see that happening. But as far as everything else goes, I can totally see a person going insane because of that. It's also completely possible for a human to be raised on, you know, human meat and stuff like that. As you guys know the story, Mr. Miller is the person who took in Dylan and sort of forced him to start eating human meat, human flesh, stuff like that. And that's completely possible. As you all know, there are cannibals that exist. And so yeah, it's not uncommon for, especially back in the day, right, for people to live off eating other humans. I know that sounds crazy, but it does exist. It does happen. We've seen it time and time again, so it's not that unlikely that he lives that type of lifestyle. But yeah, to sort of reel it back down, I highly doubt a person would go down the path that Dylan did and just start murdering people for seemingly no reason, people who had nothing to do with his trauma or anything like that. And so it's probably not likely that he will exist. I'm just gonna go maybe. He's not that paranormal. He doesn't have any super powers or, you know, super abilities. He's still grounded in reality somewhat. So yeah, maybe. So next up on the list, we have the Night Ripper from The Night Ripper. So the Night Ripper is literally based off of real life things. Not only is he based off Jack the Ripper, which was a real life serial killer, but he is also based off the real life Italian slasher film called The New York Ripper, which is stated directly on the Puppet Combo site. I can totally see the Night Ripper existing because he literally was based off of real life things, of a physical real life human that actually did stuff like that, and also a movie. Off the bat, yes, I do think the Night Ripper is very highly likely to exist, that can exist in our world. Also, even down to his abilities, he hasn't shown any supernatural abilities. He's not paranormal, extraterrestrial, or anything like that. He's just still a regular person, I think, for the most part. He just wears a duck mask, he wears the whole outfit and stuff like that. So he definitely could exist in real life. He's still a regular human, and he's also based off of real life shit, you know? The Night Ripper also lives in New York, and New York has a lot of crime. Trust me, I have lived there, so I know what it's like. There's a bunch of shit going on, right? It's New York, it's New York City, bro. There's a ton of shit going on. I know if you live in NYC, you guys know what the fuck I'm talking about. There's always some crazy shit happening. I can see the Night Ripper totally existing in our life, and he has existed before, aka the Jack Ripper. So yes, the Night Ripper, highly likely to exist in real life. So next up, we have the Driller Killer from Night Watch and Power Drill Massacre. So right off the bat, it is highly unlikely, especially these days, for a mentally disabled or stunted kid to not receive any help. If you guys know about the Driller Killer and a bit of his lore, you know that he kind of was stuck as a child mentally, and so yeah, he went to like some sort of daycare, Sunshine Daycare, something like that. And I'm not sure if this is true or not, but it says somewhere that he was like abused, which I totally understand, right? But I'm thinking like current day, bro, there are a lot of programs, a lot of stuff, you know, that help kids with, you know, mental disabilities, mental, you know, whatever. I feel like in this day, the Driller Killer just wouldn't exist because he would have gotten the help that he needed, and he wouldn't have went down that path. Obviously, I'm not trying to take away that real life abuse happens in these daycares. I've seen like news, I've seen shit on the news of like real life footage, right? Footage from like a corner of the room, right? And it's just like a very bad teacher that just is hitting a kid or something like that, right? I get that. I understand that can happen, but I mean, in terms of like a mentally stunted kid, I'm more than positive, especially in 2024, there are a ton of programs, there are a ton of things that you can help a kid with that, you know? There's so many things these days that help kids and help adults that deal with, you know, mental disabilities, mental issues, and physical issues as well, that receive help. They have the help that they can get. Obviously, that costs money and stuff like that, but in general, I just doubt the Driller Killer could exist these days. It just doesn't make sense to me. Also, thinking just about how the Driller Killer lived, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. The Driller Killer somehow learned how to like live on his own as a kid, live in the forest. How did he learn how to hunt? How did he learn how to cook food? How did he learn how to do this, do that? How does he know that? How does he know that? That's just so unrealistic. It's clearly just it's not supposed to be real, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much things that you got to take into consideration. How did he know how to get water? How does he know how to ration his meals? How does he know, like, so yeah, if I had to sum it up, it's just extremely unlikely for a mentally disabled man to just be living out in the woods, like living in abandoned factories, living in abandoned places and stuff like that, just surviving alone in the woods for like decades. That's just so unrealistic. I'm sorry. That's not existing in today's world. The Driller Killer is very unlikely to exist. So next up, we have Dr. Fredstein from Night at the Gates of Hell, and immediately know he's not existing. Straight up, supernatural powers are not real, all right? They're not real. Portals and zombies coming out the portals and these huge fucking creatures, that's just does not exist. I'm sorry, bro. It doesn't exist. Dr. Fredstein will never exist. On to the next one. All right, so next up on the list, we have Larry from Christmas Massacre. So I think Larry is slightly more likely to exist than the Driller Killer, which is a villain we just went over. And that's because Larry isn't as mentally like set back as the Driller Killer. As you all know, in Christmas Massacre, he plans out attacks that are just insane. He wipes out crowds full of people. He like secretly, you know, makes his way into the people's homes and stuff like that, into stores, and just wipes everybody out. Also, he knows how to drive a car too, which is, I mean, I don't think the Driller Killer knows how to drive a car. The Driller Killer doesn't know how to even speak words, right? And I know Larry doesn't speak, but at least Larry knows how to drive, and that man is insane, right? So yeah, I can totally see that as a headline, like, kid attacks school and children. Wait, That's a school shooter. Yeah, it's not that uncommon, especially in America, where we've seen so many school shootings. Stuff like that are so common. So it's not that out of the, you know, ordinary for something like what Larry did to exist in our world, especially back then. And so, yeah, I think all of that combined, I think Larry is maybe likely to exist, you know. Maybe he's 50-50, you know. That's what the maybe category is, by the way. It's just, I don't know. He can go either way. He can either not exist or he can exist. So yeah, maybe. So next up we have the Mutilator from Meat Cleaver Mutilator. So right off the bat, there'd be no reason for a random guy to wear a wolf mask, a janitor outfit, to be living and surviving in some abandoned building for seemingly no reason at all. Again, there's not that much lore about Meat Cleaver Mutilator. To this day, I still don't know like what the story is about that game, but this is not about the story. This is just how likely these villains are to exist. And I'm sorry, some random guy wearing a wolf mask living in an abandoned building for no reason, again, is just not likely to exist. So I'm gonna have to go unlikely. So next up we have Killer Santa from Planet of the Bloodthirsty Santa. So Santa is just flat out not real. I'm sorry if you're a kid and you're watching this, bro. Santa is not real, bro. All right, I'm sorry. Even if Santa was real, Santa would not attack his elves and not kill his elves like Killer Santa does. So even then, even if Santa existed, he wouldn't do such heinous crimes. And even if he did do heinous crimes, Killer Santa is all the way on Planet Santa, bro. He is nowhere. He's not on Earth. That if you guys played Planet of the Bloodthirsty Santa, it's called Planet of the Bloodthirsty Santa because you head to a different planet where Santa's at, right? So even if he did exist, he's like 5 billion light years away, right? So even if he did exist, he's not on Earth. But we're chilling anyways. We're good. He's not coming for our cheeks. We're good, all right? But he's unlikely to exist. My bad, I take that back. He's impossible, all right? Impossible. Killer Santa is impossible to exist in our world. All right, so next up we have Terrence from Day 7. So like I've mentioned numerous times, and as you probably know, Terrence is just a regular ass guy. Feel me? Terrence got to pay bills. Terrence got to wake up at 6 in the morning, go to his job, go his 9 to 5. He got to do all this. You know, he's just a regular person, right? And even if the backrooms was real, which is not, maybe, but even if the backrooms was real, I can totally see something like what happened to Terrence, you know, like how he went insane at the end of the game, happening to any one of us, myself included, right? If you're trapped in the backrooms and like, you know you're cooked, you've been there for like a week straight and you know you're not getting out, all of us are going insane. I don't care what you say. I don't care how good you are at being, you know, in solitude. We are all going insane. We are all going insane without a doubt. So a villain like Terrence, again, he's not really that much of a villain, but we gotta add him. A villain like Terrence, especially at the end of the game, could happen to any single one of us, all right? He's just a regular guy, nothing supernatural. Even at the end of the game when he becomes a villain, he's not, you know, supernatural or anything. He literally just uses a scalpel or something to murder his victims. Terrence is highly likely to exist in our world because it could be you and I. If we fall into the backrooms, we're crashing out, we're losing our mind, and we're smoking cheeks, bro. What the fuck? All right, so next up we have Slaw from Rewind or Die. So yeah, a manager living a double life, sort of like how Slaw does, is not entirely impossible. He definitely uses all of his establishments to, you know, hide and launder all the evidence and stuff like that. Also, Slaw's character himself is not that crazy of an idea. Something like that has actually happened in real life. When I was researching this, there was already a case kind of similar to Slaw, you know? There was one well-known case is that of John Wayne Gacy. Basically, John owned a construction business and was actively involved in his local community. Gacy was well-liked and even performed as a clown for children's parties. However, he was secretly a serial killer who murdered at least 33 young men and boys between 1972 and 1978. Like, it's actually insane that there's people out here that are like running or like owning establishments that are secretly like murderers, bro. Like, it's totally possible. It's totally possible. So yeah, guys, with Slaw, I'm just gonna have to go. There's a good chance Slaw could exist. There is a good chance because it has happened numerous times in our past, and it could happen again. So I can totally see that happening. Just probably happening right now that they just didn't get caught. So that's crazy. What the fuck? All right, so next up we have Dr. Edward Sullivan from The Glass Staircase. So sorry to all my Resident Evil fans. A villain like William Birkin is not going to exist in our life. I'm sorry. That's just not realistic. With today's medicine, that's just not possible. Maybe in the future we start mutating and shit, maybe. But like today, 2024, our medicine is just not capable. Our technology is not capable of like transfiguring a human to become like a huge monster, you know? That's just not real. Also, even just thinking about the backstory, it's so wacky that Dr. Edward Sullivan just started randomly receiving messages from an eldritch god telling him to like follow this path or something, go back home and try to like, you know, run an experiment to bring back whatever. Like, that's just what? And it's even more unlikely for a person to like cook up a concoction that causes them to swell up into that big monster that you see at the end of the glass staircase. So yeah, the chances of Dr. Edward Sullivan existing in real life is impossible. Next up, we have Billy from Feed Me Billy. So I'm gonna go ahead and say right now, Billy is highly likely to exist. So as you all know, Billy is just a regular person who got consumed by a cult, something we've seen numerous times in our past. You know, it's not that crazy for a person to just fall into a cult and sort of live that lifestyle. His way of attacking victims is also extremely realistic. He basically just puts on an act and pretends to be someone who he's not, and he then leads them to his home or leads them to somewhere, and he attacks them and kills them and captures them, right? I know we've seen so many cases of like people going on Tinder dates or something, and then like the person is killed or something. It's crazy, right? So yeah, a villain like Billy is very likely to exist, especially given his method of attacking and capturing victims. It's completely realistic, it's completely possible, and it has happened numerous times, as you guys all know. So yeah, apart from the hole in his closet being super unnatural, super like not real, for the most part, Billy is grounded in reality. And again, even so, it's still completely possible for someone who's insane to completely hallucinate and imagine a hole on the floor or like whatever to sort of like feed into their delusion. It's completely possible. So Billy, highly likely to exist. So next up, we have the Nun from Nun Massacre. So the Nun is too fictitious and based on paranormal logic, which, as you all know, is just not real. Objectively speaking, ghosts are just not real. I'm sorry. I don't care what you guys experienced in your lives. I have never dealt with a ghost. I'm more than positive ghosts don't exist, so I have never like had a ghost experience, and I will continue to never have a ghost experience because I don't believe in that shit. Sorry to all my Nun fans. The Nun is very unlikely to exist. It's just not real. It's a nun. So some of you might know that the Nun is actually like a culmination of Mother Apollonia and Miss Donaldson. So even in the lore of the game, the Nun is not real. The Nun is just a figment of Miss McDonald's imagination. You might be wondering, how does she get hurt? All right, it's just a game, all right? It's just not, she's not real, okay? She's not real. As much as it pains me to say, the Nun being a villain in our world is impossible, all right? Nuns don't exist. Ghosts don't exist. I'm sorry. Ghosts don't exist. All right, come on now. So next up, we have the Butcher from Stay Out of the House. So yeah, right off the bat, it's not too unrealistic for people to just start going missing in rural places, such as Cedarville, Oklahoma, where Stay Out of the House takes place. So yeah, apart from some supernatural things like the bunker creature and also the Butcher's own paranormal like health regeneration and stuff like that, for the most part, the Butcher is still pretty grounded in reality. He's still a regular person, all right? He's not like a humanoid. He's not like some big monster, all right? He's just a regular tall 6'8", 250-pound tank. And he's completely capable of just yoinking people out of their night shift and just fucking taking them back home, you know? And so yeah, speaking of yoinking people, he has a solid plan. He only attacks and captures victims who work late graveyard shifts at like 24/7, you know, open restaurants or stores, such as Deborah, which is the character we play as a night shift. That's how she got yoinked. She was working the graveyard shift, and the Butcher knew that. The Butcher knew that there was going to be that many people around, that it was only going to be one person, and he does that to all of his victims, right? He sort of watches them, and he specifically only goes for people who are alone and very late at night, you know, in isolated places. So he's a smart guy. He's maybe, yeah, I'm gonna have to go maybe. He's 50-50. He could exist, he could not. All right, so next up, we have Neokalus Burr from Babysitter Bloodbath. So yeah, a working man, you know, crashing out and murdering his entire family is actually not the first time it's happened. You know, it's happened numerous times in our life, in our history. Like, what the fuck? It's like not too crazy of a concept, right? Like, it's happened numerous times in our history, which I will tell you right now. So I'm not gonna go into detail, but there's actually a few cases, and the names of these people who have crashed out and killed and murdered their families are Chris Watts, John List, and Timothy Jones Jr. These are people that were working men, fathers, who randomly out of nowhere just murdered their entire family, sort of how Neokalus Burr did. So if you guys know, Neokalus Burr, blue collar, hardworking man, randomly out of nowhere just crashes out, murders his entire family. For some reason, is just a killer now, right? I haven't read the book, so I don't know if there's a reason why he just went insane. But for the most part, in general, a villain like Neokalus Burr has existed in our lifetime, and it's not that out of, you know, it's not that crazy of an idea for someone to just lose their mind out of nowhere, especially like a father. We've seen that so many times. Come on now, guys. So yeah, Neokalus Burr has a very good chance of existing in real life, you know? So next up, we have the Womb Ripper from Bloodwash. So the Womb Ripper's backstory, aka Samantha Rhodes, is not, I can see it happening, all right? I totally understand why Samantha just lost her mind after what happened. I can totally see that happening. It's not that crazy of a backstory. It's totally possible for a mother to lose their child and grieve and start to go insane, right? Especially if it was taken from them, right? Sort of how Samantha's newborn was taken from her. So I can see that. With that being said, anything past surviving the laundromat fire is just unrealistic, all right? I'm sorry. I can totally see like a news headline being like, woman survives laundromat fire, has third-degree burns, whatever. But I don't see that person just becoming a villain like the Womb Ripper is, you know? It's just not, I don't see that happening at all. So yeah, guys, it's just unlikely for like a person to just start living in an abandoned laundromat, attacking multiple pregnant mothers, all while never getting caught, and being naked, rocking a mask made out of fetuses. Like, what? Like I said, I don't doubt that it's not possible. It's just very unlikely. So I'm gonna have to go unlikely to exist. All right, nearing towards the end of the list, we have the Ding Dong Ditcher Ripper from Ding Dong Dead. So the story of Vic Matheson or Matheson, whatever, aka the Ding Dong Ditcher Ripper, is just so wacky. It's just so wacky. You see, so yeah, like his whole thing is just like ding dong ditching houses, and then for some reason he's a killer and stuff like that. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, it's just very unlikely for a patient to escape from their asylum 10 years after they committed a crime and still like want to go back to doing whatever the fuck. In one day, the man escaped, got his whole Ding Dong Ditcher Ripper outfit, you know, his mask, everything, and then just ran back home. Like, what? It just doesn't make any sense, right? Although I can't see the name, like Ding Dong Ditcher Ripper. That's some like 1970s shit, you know? Like, oh my God, guys, watch out. Don't open your doors. The Ding Dong Ditcher Ripper is here. I can see that happening, right? I can totally see that being a real life fucking killer that, you know, sort of similar to like the Zodiac Killer and stuff like that. So I can see it happening, but for the most part, it's just very unlikely. So I'm just gonna have to go unlikely for Ding Dong Ditcher Ripper. I'm sorry, he's just super wacky. All right, finally, my friends, we have the Cannibal Killer from Cannibal Abduction. So yeah, guys, we've seen serial killers who are cannibals throughout our history, most notably Jeffrey Dahmer. It's not that crazy of an idea for a serial killer to eat their victims. Like, that's happened so many times. In fact, it's actually more common. So yeah, even taking away some of the paranormal stuff, sort of like the basement dweller creatures and stuff like that, the Cannibal Killer is actually somewhat based and grounded in reality. As you guys know, he's not fast at all. He's not fast in any way. He's not athletic. He's not that strong. He's just a regular guy who just likes to eat people and capture people, which has most likely happened in our history. So yeah, he's pretty slow, which is more in tune to like how, you know, a real life villain or like a serial killer would be, you know, not too fast, probably unathletic, but they just have a knife or something. So yeah, I can see that happening. Also, finally, cannibals and cannibal families have existed for the longest in you know, in our world. They're gonna continue to exist, especially in super rural places and countrysides, such as where Cannibal Abduction takes place. Cannibal Abduction takes place somewhere super, you know, countryside, you know, which I associate with cannibals for some reason. You know, that's probably where they are. No offense to anyone that lives in the countryside. The cannibal is likely to exist. Likely, I can see that happening. There's been serial killers who have done worse. There's literally serial killers who have done worse. Taking away the basement creature, that's clearly unrealistic. If we're looking strictly at the Cannibal Killer, it's basically just a regular cannibal serial killer that has probably existed in our life and will probably exist at some point in the future in a news headline, right? So I totally forgot about this villain when making this, but the mysterious tall man from day 7 is going to be the last villain on this list. As cool as the Backrooms is, we just have to be realistic. The Backrooms is just not real, and in turn, the mysterious tall man that we see in day 7 is also just not going to be real. The tall man seems to be closely related and connected to the Backrooms like entity itself, so taking that into consideration, if the Backrooms is not real, it is more than likely that the mysterious tall man won't be real as well. Alright guys, so that is going to be all for this list on puppet combo killers that are likely to exist and not likely to exist. I honestly don't know how I even came up with this idea. I was just thinking of stuff, videos to make, and I was just like, how likely is the butcher to exist? And I was like, oh fuck it, let's do the whole list, right? I know I probably missed a killer here or there, but for the most part, I think I got most of them. Again guys, this is completely my opinion. If you guys want to add, you know, whatever, if you guys have a different opinion, if you guys think a killer is more likely to exist or not likely to exist, please comment down below what you guys think. And yeah, anyways guys, it's been your boy Blind, and I got so many more of these videos on the way. Trust guys, the setup is complete. I'm about to go stupid on these videos. So yeah, that's gonna be all from me guys. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. Hopefully this video is not too long because it's gonna be a bitch to edit. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I love every single one of you guys, and I hope you guys have an awesome day. Peace out.